I want to switch gears a little bit while I have you here and talk about an incident that happened over the weekend at the Chabad Jewish Center in southwest Cape Coral. This was a despicable act in which an individual, as you have covered, committed vandalism, an attempted burglary, and struck fear in the hearts of not only the people that were present at the Chabad Center, but the Jewish community of Southwest Florida and the entire community. This is one of the unfortunate side effects that you see when I tell people. They ask about crime rate, they ask about certain things, and I pivot people off of that. And I like to highlight the fact that if we talk numbers, we're the 8th largest city in the 3rd most populous state in the country. And there's a lot of wonderful things that come with that. But one of the side effects is that we have a lot of the nation's problems here. And hate crimes are on the rise, particularly attacks on Jewish communities and Jewish centers and places of worship are on the rise. And it happened here. And we need to acknowledge that. And I also want to give a little bit of additional information about that particular case. Rabbi Yossi at Chabad is a good friend of mine. I've participated in many good time events over the years. Going back almost 10 years, I've spoken personally at the menorah lighting. But we're there in good times and bad. And I spoke with my friend yesterday to let him know that the case that I just highlighted before and the great work that they've done, that talented team is the same team that you're looking at today that are involved in this case. That's how serious we take it. That's a priority that we place it. There's been extra visibility at the center during the week and also during service. We're working around the clock because this is a priority case. I talked about the team, and these are the ones that are actually going to be and are working this case. To the members of the community, not only that, but like the case that I highlighted before, we get information and we have a true partnership with the city of Cape Coral and the community. And I ask that if you have any information, to please call 1-800-780-TIPS, that's Crime Stoppers, or a non-emergency number 574-3223. Rabbi Yossi and his family are valued members of our diverse, vibrant, and resilient community. And this disgusting act will not take away from that. Police department, city staff, elected officials, and the community of Cape Coral as a whole stand in solidarity with Chabad. And we stand against any type of hate crime in our community. And I have the full support of the city manager, of the mayor, and of the community, and we will bring justice for this case. And with that, I will entertain any questions. I believe the mayor's availed himself too, if there's any for him, but I'll open up the floor.
When it comes to the attack on the Chabad, this is a friend of yours whose place of work has been attacked. Does this become personal now?
It does, if I'm being honest. I think most of them do. The case I talked about before becomes personal. When you live here, as we all do, the business of the police department becomes personal. But I have known him for almost a decade, and yes, it does. It is. It is. It's a hate crime until we can determine different. You go in at the highest level. We're not naive to the national trends, as I spoke about before, the growth and the size of Cape Coral, and we have to treat it as such. Sure, I'll just quickly before I yield. I'm saddened and I'm shocked and I'm outraged that it happened in Cape Coral, but surprised? I'm not. Because of those statistics that I gave you, we're a large city in a very large state, and to think that we're immune to things that happen on a national scale, that's just naive to think that. We have a lot of the same societal problems that you see on the national news. They happen here. I believe it was a week or so ago I gave a story about a young girl who ingested accidentally a pill laced with fentanyl That's a national story, but that's happening here. So pretty much anything you could insert into the narrative that's happening nationally does occur here. The key is that we have to be prepared, trained, and ready to work hard for the community to do that, and it's a perfect segue for the mayor that we have the support to be able to do that.
Just real quickly, you know, we're one of the fastest growing cities here in the state of Florida. And like the chief had mentioned, when you are a growing city, unfortunately, sometimes these types of incidents do happen in your city. Of course, we wish they did not happen, but I have all the confidence in the world in our police department that they will thoroughly investigate this, and it will be brought to a conclusion at some point. And you know, we'll just have to make sure that we are prepared. I know our officers are trained for it, and we will step up to the plate when called upon, whether it's this incident or any other incident here in our city.
Mayor, the city is a very diverse city, and I know being in Southwest Cape, there's a lot of diversity in that section as well. Has this become personal to you on both these attacks? Because we are a growing city, but it's so diverse to see somebody come out and take someone's life senselessly and then attack a Jewish synagogue.
Yeah, whether it's, you know, the Jewish family or any other type of family. Like you had mentioned, we're a very diverse community, but first and foremost, we are a community. And that is made up of many different types of organizations, individuals, and no matter whom any crime has occurred against, we will always be there, no matter which organization it is, to make sure that justice is brought for that particular individual or organization.
With the going off of a nickname, there was family tweeted with anyone's information, you know, if they understood similar circumstances. How did you guys, was there, did you know what you guys were talking about when you went to like say from? I mean, was there any, I guess, how certain is that no correct?
Two separate questions there. The second part of your question, how certain? 100%. 100%. How did we develop that? Some of that information I really can't divulge, only because we have to leave the case and all of its contents belong to the state attorney's office now, and too much release of that information would injure the chances of us getting a conviction, possibly moving the trial, further traumatizing the family. So I have to leave some of that to be able to be discoverable during trial, but I would hearken back to the second part. We are very confident that we have our person. Well, the charges on one was second-degree murder, the other was second-degree murder and robbery. There was a significant amount of money that was taken. We believe it was a setup. Showed up, the crime happened, and immediately left the area. Do not pass go. They went right back up to the Kentucky area. I do not. I can't really divulge a lot of it as to why. It was part of the reason that all of them met at this certain location, and that's going to come out in trial. And I could poison any jury pool by getting into that.
How big is this case, and is it the biggest case in the past years? You know, kind of putting that in perspective.
Anytime that there's a murder in Cape Coral, that was front page TV coverage, couple of days. I think it kind of speaks to the growth of the region as a whole that it didn't pick up coverage. I can tell you in the walls of this building, it's a big case, and it was front page news for us. As far as the biggest case in recent memory, you don't rank them that way. It's a major case. It's a murder case. It's the highest. They don't get any higher than that. There's different degrees of it, different reasons for it, but it's the taking of a human life, and we take it as high a priority as you can.
How many other cases of violence have, taken
More than you would think. More than you would think. I go back to, I can go back even over 10 years ago. We had an individual who murdered his grandfather and fled to, we found him with the same type of setup. U.S. Marshal Task Force with our detective assigned to it was found hiding in a homeless shelter in Chicago. So what this case will show you, and what I hope it shows the community, is that we won't stop. No borders, no boundaries are going to contain us hunting for justice. We will continue. It reminds me of a case that the trial was delayed, but the trial is going to be back on in May, and that's the Cornell Story murder that happened in 1990. And over 30 years later, we continued and continued. It's the Violent Crime and Major Crimes Unit, that different generations of that team, but the same unit and the same ethics and the same motivations. We didn't stop, and that trial for murder is coming to pass here in May, and I think it just speaks to how we are. We're not going to stop. We're not going to let the borders of Cape Coral or Lee County or the state of Florida or even the United States be a bound. If you commit a crime against the resident, citizen, visitor, anybody in Cape Coral, you are going to get the full weight of the Cape Coral Police Department and the Major Crimes Unit, and as long as it takes. Decades, we're going to continue.
One last question.
Sure.
Back to your murder. I know the day after it happened, this weekend, and one of the biggest questions at the time was why. Now you guys live in this answer and justice and you can speak to your family. Just can you elaborate just a little bit more, just have a conversation around like what did they say, how emotional were they?
They were emotional as it looked like an exhale of the soul, and it was a good conversation. I yielded to Detective Cragen to do most of the preparation for the next steps, but it was bittersweet. It's always terrible when you're still meeting with a family that no matter what, time has not healed that, but what we were able to deliver today is that justice was not fled from or escaped.